Namaste to all the yoga sadhakas. In yoga and in Ayurveda, there is a saying that everything should be customized based on the individual. But how do we customize it? Based on what? And they say that should be based on one's Prakriti or one's true nature. How do we determine this nature? What are the factors which influences this nature is what we are going to understand in this video. Yada Brahmande Tata Pindande is a very popular statement, which means however is the universe outside, the same thing is there within us as well. And the universe outside is made up of 5 elements. And we all know about the 5 element theory. It is made up of earth, water, fire, air and ether. So these are the 5 elements which comes together to form this entire world around us, including us. When everything is made up of same elements, the same forces which acts outside is acting in us as well. And these 3 forces are called as Vata, Pitta and Kapha in Ayurveda. Let us understand what exactly it is. Kapha. Kapha is a force which brings earth and water together. Just imagine this. Earth and water doesn't mix very well. If you take a glass of water and put some soil and a water on top of it, after some time it will just settle down. Unless you're constantly stirring, it will not mix up. But just imagine a force which brings these 2 forces, these 2 elements together, and that force is what is called as Kapha. And similar to this, a force which brings the element of water and fire together is what is called as Pitta. How does it work? Because if you logically think of it, fire and water doesn't go well. If you take a glass of water and pour it on the fire, it just vanishes. Or depending on which is more powerful, the other one can also vanish. Okay, if you have a very huge burning fire and take a drop of water and put it inside that, the water droplet will disappear. So they just don't come together. But the force which brings them together is what is Pitta. And similarly, for Vata is the force which balances your air and ether. See, the air element needs space to travel. If the space is constrained and the air is enormous, it is going to just probably destroy the entire space itself. So there should be a well balance between these 2, and the balancing force which causes this balance is what is Vata. Now the properties of these forces depends on the elements which they are made up of. If you look at Kapha, Kapha by nature is made up of water. Kapha by nature is oily because of the water element. It's cold because of the water element. It is heavy because of the earth element. It is more stable because of the earth element. It is viscous because of water element. It is dense and smooth. So for Kapha, you can just think of it as a curd or a phlegm. So this is all the Kapha kind of a, that's how the Kapha forces, how the properties of Kapha will be. Similarly, if you look at Pitta, it is oily in nature because of the water element, and it's hot because of fire, and it's light because it's made up of 2 lighter elements, and it is intense because of fire. It is more fluid because of water, and it is liquid in nature. So for Pitta, you can think of it as an acid, because acid is where it burns, literally it burns, although it's in liquid form. And that's how the Pitta is, just for visual understanding. And coming to Vata, Vata is dry because of its air, and it's very cold because of the air, and it's light in its nature because it's made up of lighter elements. It's very irregular. It comes and goes. The way the things are, the way the wind blows, and it is very mobile. It just keeps moving from place to place. It is rough in nature, and this is the nature of Vata force. Kind of understanding this, and now if you look at these 3 different forces, you can just say that the Kapha is the one which causes more stability, which is in general, it is having a lot of potential energy in it. And Vata is the one which creates a lot of mobility, which is made up of a lot of, it increases movement, so we can say it's having a lot of kinetic energy in it. And Pitta is the one which transforms from one nature to the other nature. So, for example, the food you eat has to be transformed to something else. That's Pitta. That's the work of a Pitta force. Or something you read, you process them into your thoughts. Again, a Pitta force. And all these different forces exist in our entire human body at different places. Some forces are predominant, and some forces are not so predominant. But when we are born, when at the time of our birth, depending on various factors, which I'm not discussing in detail in this video, we all have some percentage of Vata, Pitta, and Kapha force within us. And that forms a default nature or Prakriti. And we should work depending on our default nature. I'll probably make more videos regarding this in a little later point of time. Just to give an example, if by default, if you are too much of a Kapha dominant person, and then naturally your tendency is inertia, you don't want to move, you don't want to do anything. But if you always don't do anything, then your Kapha is becoming more and more. So you need something which helps you to move. You need to pick up activities which makes you move. At the same time, all these are not limited only to a physical body itself. It is also works at your mental level also, which we'll discuss in the later point of time. But now understand that there is Vata, Pitta, Kapha forces, which has some starting levels at the time of birth, and that's your nature or Prakriti. And it can be varying depending on person to person. Someone can have 25% of Vata, 50% of Pitta, and the rest of it can be Kapha. And for some of you, one can be very exaggerated. Usually, the two forces will be more prominent, and the third one will be a little lower. So, depending on which is prominent, we call that person as that type of person. If Vata is dominant, we say he is a Vata person. If Pitta is dominant, we say he is a Pitta person, or he is a Pitta Vata person, or Vata Pitta person. All of these nomenclature comes in this way. Now, how do you determine what is your nature? In the description below, we have given a link to a questionnaire, so which you can take it up, and after filling up the questionnaire, you will get an email which says what is the default nature or Prakriti, what percentage of you is Vata, what percentage of you is Pitta, and what percentage of you is Kapha. And while taking this questionnaire, don't be in a hurry. You please read all the description before taking up the questions. This is a very simple questionnaire to understand your Prakriti. And once we understand the Prakriti, in the upcoming videos, we will try to see how we can customize all our habits or practices around us based on our Prakriti or nature.